In today's video, I want to talk about the biggest surprise I had from a character in Squid Game Season 2. Before the season came out, one of the major topics of conversation was that it would feature a trans woman, played by Park Sung-hoon, a cisgender male. There was a lot of debate around different issues, ranging from people who didn't want to see trans characters on their screens at all, to allies and trans people who were uncomfortable with a cis man playing a trans woman, to those who questioned why the show would willingly subject a trans woman to violence. At first, when I read the news, I had the same reaction as many others. I thought that the producers were just trying to pander to get wokeness points. I really hate when TV shows do this nowadays. I don't understand why every story seems to need a minority character who isn't relevant to the plot and is only added for the sake of social justice. In my opinion, this has ruined a lot of shows. But I was surprised to find out that this wasn't the case here. In many TV series, a token character from a marginalized community is often reduced to just that. A gay character's entire personality revolves around being gay. A transgender character's entire personality revolves around being trans, and so on. But as I said, that was not the case here. This character was multifaceted and demonstrated a complex set of traits, skills, and interests that didn't necessarily conform to stereotypes, while also making it clear that there's nothing wrong with conforming to stereotypes either. For example, while Hyun-ju's interactions with young Emmy did align with what we typically envision in relationships between transgender women and cisgender women, Player 120's badass leadership in combat and impressive knowledge of firearms really stood out. She first made an impression when she helped Gi-hun in the first game. This scene immediately reminded us of Ali, who risked his own life in the same game last season to hold Gi-hun and save him. She's clearly meant to represent the Ali of this season, the most marginalized member of Korean society. After the first season, there was a huge outpouring of concern for dark foreigners. It seems like the director might be doing something similar for the growing transgender community in Korea. I believe she was one of the best written characters this season, and through her interactions with other players, we learned a lot about Korean culture. The show did not shy away from addressing some of the more sensitive topics of being transgender in Korea, such as the intergenerational divide, evidenced by the grandmother's difficulty understanding transgenderism and the son hushing her when she asked somewhat intrusive questions. It also highlighted the discrimination that transgender individuals, particularly in the military, face, which explains why player 120 wanted to move to Thailand. I don't know if you knew this, but there was actually a real case in Korea like this. Byun Hui-soo was the first known transgender soldier in South Korea. She had risen to the rank of staff sergeant and was a tank driver before being discharged from the army in January 2020 after undergoing gender reassignment surgery in Thailand. Unfortunately, this story does not have a happy ending. Hui-soo couldn't cope with the social pressure and discrimination and ended up taking her own life. Another emotional interaction in this season is between Hyun-ju and Youngmai's, especially the part where she is called unnie. Unnie is the term younger women use to address older women. You can even see that player 120 is somewhat flustered by it. Youngmai not only respected Hyun-ju's age, but also her gender identity as a woman. For Hyun-ju, that kind of acceptance must have been extremely rare, especially in Korea. She seemed really moved by it. Youngmai calling her unnie through the door made it even more heartbreaking. Youngmai was acknowledging her both as a woman and as someone close to her. I also liked how the writer made her vote twice to continue playing. The fact that she chose to stay in the games for the money to afford her surgeries really puts into perspective the struggles a transgender person has to face. When someone is willing to risk their life for a surgery, it speaks volumes. Hyun-ju is a really well done, complex character. Despite displaying emotional connections with some of the players, she also shows great leadership traits and emotional intelligence. We saw this during the six-legged race. She knew how to push all the right buttons for each person. Some people needed to be coddled, like young me, and some needed a harsh wake-up call, like the shaman lady. In just those 5 minutes of the six-legged race, she displayed more qualities than 80% of the Squid Game players. During the Mingle game, she took the leadership role again. She was quick with her decisions, always took the initiative, and coordinated the players to ensure they reached the required number. And don't even get me started on the last episode. I bet her back hurts from how she carried that whole episode. She went straight into army mode, explaining to everyone how to use and load a gun. She never used her identity as an excuse. She was the first one on the front line. The juxtaposition created by the writers was brilliant. If you have a character who takes charge, served in the military, and barks orders at everyone, then you're just writing a man in a wig, the very thing the show was instantly accused of when casting a cis man to play her. But there is so much tenderness to player 120 that it never feels that way. Her shyness in social situations that don't call for militaristic direction, her clear discomfort with her own body as she shifts her shoulders and anxiously squeezes her palms, all of these make player 120 a far more rounded character. Of course, there will always be haters, and there were some complaints about having a cis person play a trans character. Hwang Dong-hyuk addressed these complaints, saying he tried to cast a trans person for the role, but unfortunately couldn't find any. There are essentially no openly LGBT people in Korean media, and the stigma is still pretty high. I imagine it would be difficult to find a prominent trans person of Korean heritage who speaks fluent Korean with no noticeable foreign accent. But Park Sung-hoon did an incredible job with his role. I really hope he gets at least a nomination for his acting because, let's be honest, he deserves it. Quick note, only in the original version is Hyun-ju played by a male actor. In all of the dubbed versions, she is voiced by a woman. I'm pretty sure Hyun-ju won't die because of the rebellion since she followed the organizers' rules to put their weapons down and get back to the dorm. Even though her only reason for going back was to check on Daeho, that doesn't matter. She still respected the rules. Also, if her character was meant to die, she would have been killed at the end of season 2. There's no way they'd make her survive that battle just to kill her off in the first 5 minutes of the new season. So we'll definitely see more of her in the next season. As I said, I expected an annoying stereotype, but got one of the coolest characters in the show instead. Her no-nonsense, straight-to-business attitude was such a great addition. Finally, a trans character that isn't cringe or immediately overpowered, witty, or stronger than the main character from the start. Hyun-ju felt so real, and I really liked that she wasn't loved by everyone in the show, because that's not how people are in real life. People can be cruel and mean, but goddamn, this was a win for trans characters in TV and movies.